Marcus Freeman and Notre Dame are back in the postseason, and they are looking to make a run. And it's a year in which they go in 11-1, and they face a team that is going to provide a lot of challenges for them in the Indiana Hoosiers. But today we take a look at how Notre Dame wins this football game. And when you're looking at this team, there are a lot of reasons why they should win this game. And we'll dive into that here. We'll look at keys to the game, players to watch, all that kind of stuff. When you look at what Notre Dame has done so far this year, it's been a really interesting year to say the least. Because when you look at what the Fighting Irish have gone through, you started the year with a very impressive win at Texas A&M. Winning on the road was a huge way to start your year. I think a lot of people had questions about Notre Dame's ability to compete with some of the big names, and they made a statement right off the bat. Unfortunately for them, the following game, they made another statement that was the complete opposite. Losing to Northern Illinois at home is still one of the most perplexing results that we've seen in college football this year. And I don't necessarily know how to really feel about that. It feels like this is a team that wasn't ready for the playoff, and yet here they are. Granted, you don't make your assumptions based off two games, but if you had assumptions about Notre Dame, you had two wildly different feelings about them after those first two games. Then, they get back on track. They destroy Purdue, but then again, who didn't? Miami, Ohio wasn't as big of a win as maybe you thought. Beating Louisville was solid. I think it's a Louisville team that is much better than I think people realize. Stanford, the blowout. Georgia Tech, that win, honestly, when you look at it now, looks a lot better than it might have at the time based on how Georgia Tech has played down the stretch. So you feel pretty good about that. After that, you didn't really play a ton of great teams. The USC win obviously was a really exciting win, but you saw a Notre Dame offense that took things to another level, and that's really where you're hoping they stay. Because when you look at the keys to the game, the first one is going to be find balance offensively. This is an offense that has mostly relied on its rushing attack, and it's easy to see just in the superficial stats. The rush offense is 10th. The pass offense is 101st. It's no secret that Notre Dame wants to run the football, and that's going to be a key for them. You have to run the football in this playoff. You simply have to, and especially against Indiana. Running the football is going to be a key. However, Riley Leonard and that passing attack have to play more of a role. If you do not have balance, teams are going to figure out how to slow you down and how to basically beat you because they know that you don't have one part of your offense. That's where you really need to have that balance. Find balance offensively. You'll be able to move the ball down the field. You'll open up the field for everybody. Forcing turnovers is going to be a big key. These are two teams that are very good at taking the ball away, but also two teams that are very good at keeping the football to themselves. When you look at these two teams, Notre Dame is plus 16 in turnover margin. Indiana is plus 15. That's second and fifth in the country. Two teams that are very good at taking care of the football and getting the ball back to their offense. One turnover might be the difference. I said that in the Indiana video. It's the same for Notre Dame. Battle in the trenches. Indiana is super disruptive. They wreak havoc against pretty much everybody they face. And if they're able to do that, Notre Dame might be in trouble, especially with this rushing attack. If you're able to move the ball down the field because you're running the football efficiently, then you feel pretty good about what you can do in this game in terms of winning this football game. If you're not, it means Indiana is creating a ton of pressure and a ton of disruptive plays, and that's going to slow down his offense, which back to the first key, you're not going to be able to find that balance because you're not moving the ball downfield efficiently. You're allowing this team to wreak havoc in the backfield, and you're not winning the line of scrimmage. That is going to be a big key, and it'll be interesting to see what a group that this offensive line has been really resilient. They've had injuries that have hurt them and hurt their depth, but they continue to bounce back, and that's really exciting if you're a Notre Dame fan. Now, when you dive into the key players to watch, everything starts with the quarterback position, but we'll actually go with Jeremiah Love as the player to spotlight here. 949 yards, 15 touchdowns. He's averaging 7.1 yards per carry. He is a freak athlete, someone who can make some incredible plays. We've seen what he's done with the football in his hands, and it's been fun to see him as of late really step up and be that go-to guy. When you look at this offense, they want to run the football. Again, it's no secret. Whether it's Jeremiah Love or someone else, Riley Leonard also is a part of that. The one thing I will say is, again, Riley Leonard is the player that's probably the biggest X factor between both of these teams. His ability to move the ball through the air is more important than Notre Dame's ability to be efficient running the football. And again, Riley Leonard is not going to throw for 350 or 400 yards, but he can be efficient. He's not the most talented in terms of arm talent, but he is someone who can move the ball down the field. And Mike Denbrock in this offense should be able to scheme some things open. How do you essentially combat Indiana's aggressiveness? Because this is an Indiana team that wants to be disruptive. How do you kind of counter that? How do you find plays that are going to work against Indiana when they're trying to be aggressive? That's going to be up to Denbrock, and part of that falls on Riley Leonard as well. Bo Collins is a big target he can utilize. We'll see what happens with that group, and if they're able to find that balance offensively, you feel pretty good about what Notre Dame can do in terms of moving the football. The defense is also going to play a big role. This is an Indiana team that doesn't necessarily rely on one player more so than the other, so you have to focus on everyone. The scouting report obviously is going to have, certain players circled and highlighted, but for the most part, you have to worry about this whole unit for Indiana's offense. Jack Kaiser is a great player to have back. He's a veteran who's played a lot of football games, and he knows what it takes to win big football games, so he'll be ready to set the tone with the rest of this group. Riley Mills can do things up front that a lot of teams maybe don't necessarily have, and that's a really nice group to have for Notre Dame. That front group, the defensive line, the linebackers are really good. Now, Xavier Watts is going to be the leader of that defense. They've been without Benjamin Morrison for a while now, and Watts has stepped up in a big way. A natural ball hawk who has done nothing but pick off passes. He is someone that could be a game changer. And again, we talked about turnovers. If they get that one turnover, that might be the difference. Could be an interception. We'll see how aggressive Indiana is going to be when throwing in his direction. I have a feeling that Indiana is still going to test him. They're not going to fear him. They're going to try him. And it's another opportunity for him to show why that maybe isn't the best decision. When you look at the players for Indiana to watch, everything starts with Curtis Rourke, and that's where we talked about Xavier Watts. Xavier Watts has the ability to make an impact on this game. Baiting Curtis Rourke, maybe making him make a poor decision and get the ball in the air where you can pick it off, that's going to be a big key. But Curtis Rourke is very good at taking care of the football. Over 70% completion rate, almost 2,900 yards, 27 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. He is someone who is a really good player, a very level-headed player. And again, one little mistake could be the difference, but maybe Notre Dame has the ability to do that. Al Golden is going to have his hands full against this Indiana offense, but Notre Dame should feel pretty good about where they stand there. Justice Ellison has stepped up in a big way for Indiana. He is someone that Notre Dame is looking to take away as well. That rushing attack has a good group of running backs, and it'll be interesting to see who wins that line of scrimmage. Elijah Sherrod is probably the biggest guy you have to worry about. He's averaging 18.2 yards per catch. So if you're looking at one guy you maybe have to worry about more than the others, Sherrod is definitely a guy. He's a big play type of player. He is someone who can stretch the field, and Watson, that secondary, will definitely have their hands full trying to slow him down. Flipping to the offense for Notre Dame, the defense for Indiana. Mikhail Kamara is having a monster year. 15 tackles for loss, 10 sacks. He's been really fun to watch. James Carpenter kind of in that same role, really. Both of them come from James Madison. That's a group that is a winning group. They have won football games ever since they got to campus, and they're doing the same thing at Indiana. So that's a really fun group to watch. Aiden Fisher, super athletic linebacker for Indiana, coming again from James Madison. He is someone that could be a potential problem for this group. And then you have D'Angelo Pons. If there's a player that you want to put Bo Collins against, you kind of saw, what Ohio State tried to do with a guy like Jeremiah Smith. Maybe you put Bo Collins and try to get him lined up against the 5'9" D'Angelo Pons, but you also have to be careful. Pons is a really good football player who knows how to get the football back to his offense, plays really good coverage, and also understands his limitations. He knows that he's not the biggest corner, but that doesn't necessarily mean you have to worry about them. That doesn't mean you can just walk all over him. He's a good player that you should keep an eye on, and obviously Mike Denbrock knows that. Notre Dame, like I said, they have the ability to win this game. I don't have any concerns about them. It's just a matter of playing a fundamentally sound football game on both sides. You have to find balance offensively. But again, if they find that and they're moving the ball efficiently, I don't think Notre Dame has much to worry about. I don't think Indiana has the talent to keep up with them. And this game could be over quick. But what I really think is it's going to be a close game, and it's going to come down to, again, that turnover battle. And if Notre Dame's able to take care of business, it's going to be a close one, but they have what it takes to move on to the next round.